which has enabled, or rather, which shall enable the quota within quota, the reserved categories of the scheduled caste, as well as the scheduled tribes, who were earlier considered as a single homogeneous group, will now be the state governments will now be able to reclassify them into taking into consideration their respective areas, their respective jurisdictions, and then they shall be able to reclassify them or give them, let's say, quota within quota. Now, first 3 pages of this PDF shall tell you that how important this article is. It shall tell you various facets of the judgment, and then we'll cover it in detail. Okay, first is who is a privileged Dalit. Now, the author Aditi writes about her own experiences. Then the second article is by Faizan Mustafa. He is again a renowned writer who writes very often on social issues. He has written about the same judgment as to how its implementation will be impacting our polity. Then there is a concept of substantive equality. This article actually details how the Supreme Court per se has graduated from the Durai Rajan judgment, which was related to reservation, wherein the Supreme Court disallowed the reservations, citing them to be against the equality, to a point today wherein the Supreme Court itself is accepting as to how the substantive equality can be achieved through reservations. So it charts down the journey of the Supreme Court from its original judgment to the recent judgment as to how the Supreme Court has looked upon the concept of equality in India. Coming to the topic for us, now this is just a quota within quota. That could be one of the headings given. Otherwise, this judgment is important from governance point of view, from social justice point of view, and from Indian society point of view. I mean, you cannot expect straight away question in Indian society on reservation, but then you can cite this judgment as to what uh, recent changes have we been seeing. Scheduled castes as well as scheduled tribes not being considered as a homogeneous group these days. In terms of scheduled tribes, I must mention that PVTGs are already considered separately. Government is bringing various programs. However, as a matter of reservation, there has not been any constitutional guarantee separately for the PVTGs, that is, primitive, vulnerable, tribal groups. Anyways, coming on to the top of the day, this is again quota within quota. The case was State of Punjab versus Devinder Singh. The Supreme Court held in a judgment, it was a 7-judge bench with 6-1 judgment. It allowed the state governments to subclassify the scheduled castes. And it declared that the scheduled castes do not constitute a socially homogeneous class. 4 of the ruling judges also favored the creamy layer within the SCs and STs. The creamy layer concept is applicable in the case of other backward classes. However, it is yet to be applied in the case of scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes. Now, the one judge the lady judge who differed from the rest of the judges, she mentioned the original citing of few judgments. She still considers them to be a homogeneous group. The judgment itself says that the Article 341, according to which the scheduled castes are defined, the judgment says that it is not a hindrance, it does not prevent the classification or rather sub-classification of the scheduled castes. Then point number two is again very important. In case a state government wishes to subclassify the scheduled caste, they need to show the proper nexus between the purpose that अगर कोई स्टेट गवर्नमेंट चाहती है कि शेड्यूल्ड कास्ट्स जो उनकी स्टेट में हैं तो उनको अगर सब क्लासिफाई करना है तो पहले तो उनके पास डाटा होना चाहिए. They have to prove it that there is an inadequate representation, there is a social and economic backwardness of those particular castes, and whatever the step that they are taking, let's say enhancing the reservation, or in this sense it is not enhancement, it is bifurcation. So in case they are going further division of the reservation, then they have to show that such communities, despite having, rather in spite having reservation for such long 75 years now, they are inadequately represented. So the state government has to show the nexus between the stated aim and the subclassification of the scheduled caste further. Point number C, I have just given for you as a reference as to why did India opt for reservation after independence. They are very simple points to ensure a level playing field for the marginalized community. We all know untouchability has been a part of our society for very long time. The control over resources has been skewed in the favor of upper castes, and that led the constitutional makers to ensure further equality by providing reservations in the constitution itself. However, it must be noted, point number 6, if you see, that caste-based reservation was not meant to be an indefinite constitutional guarantee. The current reservation was supposed, or rather, the initial reservation itself was supposed to end after 10 years. However, the experience says that once the such benefits are granted, it is very difficult to roll them back. So it has been extended for, so many years, and it might continue the same way. Next, if we analyze the judgment, then it already tells that it has taken more of economic aspect of the backwardness. But then if we see manifestation of untouchability or caste-based discrimination, economic aspects are just one aspects. The social aspects are equally important. We have seen few cases. There was one case of Rohit Vemula, and likewise we have seen in education institutions time and again such cases keep cropping up. Then regarding creamy layer, there will of course be question as to how this will be determined, that which all castes constitute the creamy layer amongst the SCs and the STs, because the economic criteria is insufficient. It's not only the economic deprivation that has led to their being marginalization, it is the social aspects also. Point number 4, if you see, because even if a person progresses economically, then still socially his standing is not as improved. Economic mobility is not, or economic advancement is not social mobility. We are also seeing that the caste census debate in the parliament. So whenever a subclassification has to take place, it is obvious that certain census of this sort has to be done. As far as today is concerned, there is no political consensus, at least at center, to conduct the caste census. Some states like Bihar has already done it, but at the union level, consensus doesn't yet exist for the caste census. Okay. Now there are few novel ideas which are also coming. Point number F. Few novel ideas of, as I said, exclusion of creamy layers in SCs and STs. There have been certain dominant castes within the group of the reserved categories who have been cornering most of the benefits of the reservation. Now, another aspect which is coming up is that the reservation should be considered for one generation only. But then the counter argument also is there that caste is not something which is lone and economic aspect. It is a social, cultural identity. It is something which is ascribed by the birth. So even the next generation or next to next generation, such disabilities stay, although we have come quite far. So this is a basic analysis of that judgment. Again, the question may not be directly asked from here, but analysis of the same may be asked, right? As to how this, with this you can actually analyze that कोई भी स्टेट होगी तो स्टेट वो कैसे इम्प्लीमेंट करेगी उसको, वो इम्प्लीमेंट करेगी कि इट हैज़ टू डिवाइड the scheduled castes or the scheduled tribes into various categories. From those categories, the political groups will emerge, and this will change the polity of this. This has the potential to change the polity of a state. Those dominant groups will be more assertive, and it may turn out to be positive also, because hence because ultimate reason is that there are certain castes which have not yet been benefited by this, so obviously they stand to gain from here. Okay, next article what we are discussing is regarding security. Jammu flares up, frames challenge, reset counter-terror grid, fill vacuum. Now, again, this is very important from internal security point of view. We covered it on 1st of August. Again, we'll have few points added to that how things are changing. Now, this is a basic map for you to understand. Jammu and Kashmir, south of Ladakh. Again, let me just expand it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. The areas which you see around Jammu. Now, earlier, this is Kashmir Valley and this is Jammu region. Kashmir is a valley. Jammu is more of a plain sort of area. From if you cross Ramban here, you enter. If you cross Ramban, then you enter this Kashmir Valley. Now, earlier these areas, Shopian, you must have heard in news, Shopian was very hotspot for terrorism. However, now the things are moving southwards. From Jammu, you see more cases of terror attacks in these areas: Jammu, Samba, Kathua, Udhampur, Doda, Kishtwar. Now, this is emerging as a new hotspot for terrorism in the changed circumstances. Okay, this is further map only. Okay. Now, at present, what is the situation in J&K? There is there is absolutely low recruitment in Kashmir Valley. Low recruitment in Kashmir Valley, of course, has its own reasons. We will just discuss it afterwards. Then, what we see today is low recruitment in Kashmir, high infiltration in Jammu. Jammu region, there is since there is high infiltration, there is an increase in the terror incidents also. The role of China is also being seen. This in terms of telecommunication support, equipment, I mean, communication support equipment, as well as weapons. At present, now these are actually these figures can be contested, but then um, for all practical purposes, as of now, you can estimate that in Kashmir, 80 to 90 terrorists are there, and in Jammu, 90 to 100 terrorists are there. Nobody can actually judge it, but the latest data in the newspaper is this. So you can roughly assume that this is the level of terrorism in Jammu Kashmir as of now. Target, of course, security forces are always the target. However, the difference between Kashmir and Jammu region is the communalization of the violence. Kashmir Valley faced the communalization in 80s or 90s. However, in 2024, that thing has percolated down to Jammu. Politically, Gujars and Bakarwals. Now they were the ones who were eyes and ears. They used to provide intelligence to the security forces earlier. However, the latest Ministry of Home, rather Union of India, has given the ST status to Pahadis. There is one group there, tribal group there. So they have been given ST status of Pahadis. So which has borne some certain resentment in the and Bakarwals. Now, and they are not as forthcoming as they were earlier. Jammu region, as I said, it consists of Kathua, Doda, Kishtwar, Udhampur, and Samba, and it shares around 485-kilometer boundary with Pakistan, forested and mountainous. Forest भी है, mountain भी है. So you can imagine how difficult it is for the security forces to operate in such environment. Now, this, as I said, why the terrorist attacks have increased in Jammu region? One, the thinning of security presence. Now, after removal of Article 370, you can write article here afterwards. After removal of Article 370 in 2019, today, incidentally, it is 5th anniversary of that. And that's why this article has actually come. And article removal of Article 370 as well as Galwan attacks. These two were important incidents which has led the removal of the forces from Jammu region to Ladakh as well as Kashmir. तो कश्मीर को heavily militarize कर दिया. जो अदरवाइज जो बाकी बचे ट्रूप्स थे वो 2021 के लद्दाख गलवान इंसिडेंट के after Galwan incidents, they moved to their LOC positions in the conventional warfare positions. Okay. Now, अब जब forces ही वहां पे ground पे, if there are no boots on ground, who will interact with the locals? Police doesn't have that much manpower, or they are too thinly spread to develop such contacts. So there are limited contacts for us to generate that intelligence. Similarly, even the terrorists are contacting the locals in a very limited fashion. They just the modus operandi is that they'll take food and then they'll vanish for a week or so. So there is a lack of intelligence. So tough terrain, as I said, it is mountainous, it is forested, tunnels and drones are being regularly used. So this is how terrorism in Jammu Kashmir is taking place. What steps have been taken? Redeployment of security forces. As we discussed earlier, there are 75 new camps which are coming up. Army and BSF will be manning those camps. Assam Rifles is also being deployed there. Now, this could anytime be asked in prelims that uh, Jammu Kashmir region, which all forces have been deployed. So Assam Rifles, it sounds like they would be deployed in the northeast region only, but this is they are deployed here also, and this is not the first time, they have been deployed earlier also.
Basically, you say English में ज़्यादा competitive है.
Then renewed efforts. Then these are just normal points. I think the renewed effort by the local police to build intelligence networks, zero tolerance policy against terror, and new camps that we have already covered. Okay, this brings us to the end of this topic. Next is LG's bid to appoint alderman in Delhi. Now, the story goes is MC Delhi, the Municipal Corporation of Delhi, they uh, they have certain positions. There are 10 members who can be nominated to the municipal corporation by the lieutenant governor. Now, the lieutenant governor appointed those 10 people to the Municipal Corporation of Delhi without the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers of Delhi government. Now, LG is working without the aid and advice of the Delhi government and appointing 10 members in the MCD. Now, this is the news. Impact is, although these 10 members are without voting rights, but then they do form the part which elects the committee of MCD. Standing committee of MCD is the one which is responsible for every contract which is above 5 crores. Now, in that sense, 10 people will be responsible for selecting because the MCD is equally divided between the two parties, the AAP and the Army Party and the BJP. And since they will be electing the standing committee, so they virtually have a veto kind of thing over there. Incidentally, they are all from BJP. One party. LG is appointed by one party. LG is working without the aid and advice of the elected Council of Ministers. LG is appointing the aldermen who are from some other party. So the concern is that there is no मतलब आपस में उनका तालमेल नहीं है. There is no coordination. So this is basically, and then there is a friction also because the Aam Aadmi Party opposes the election of the nomination of the alderman. The matter is in court. Verdict आज आना था, आ गया होगा. Tomorrow we will discuss. But what is important for us from the exam point of view is the role of the governor. Although I understand it is lieutenant governor, but still we will take this opportunity to see what is the role of governor. I have given articles here and highlighted just important points. Yeah, I've given certain articles here, highlighted the important points. You can go through, I'll rush through it. You can go through easily because articles you must have heard that articles are not important from UPSC point of view, but I differ here because even in 2024, a direct question was asked regarding the article of money bill, Article 112. So it is suffice to say that if 2024 a question can appear on the article, Lakshmikant, it does mention all these duties and all, but it doesn't mention the articles so specifically. So we'll take this opportunity just to see as to how this goes. Now, Article 153 establishes the office of the governor. Governor can be appointed for two, a single governor can be appointed for two or more states, two or more states. I mean, it can be three states also. Executive power of the state shall be vested in the governor. I mean, anything which is done in the name of the governor. अगर कोई अपॉइंटमेंट भी होती है स्टेट की, तो उसको that appointment is done senior level, that appointment is done in the name of the governor. अगर कोई let's say PWD है, अगर कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करती है किसी let's say any road contract, द रोड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एसडीओ करेगा या एक्सीएन करेगा पीडब्ल्यूडी का. However, that contract is made in the name of president. That does, sorry, the governor. That doesn't mean he is personally responsible. It is just a norm in this Westminster type of democracy, that legislature, that this is how it is done. It's in the name of the governor. Executive power, every executive action. Okay, Article 155, appointment of the governor done by president by warrant under his hand and seal. You can also go through the constitution as to see who all are the appointments, who all are the dignitaries which are appointed by the president by warrant under his hand and seal. The governors, judges of the High Court, judges of the Supreme Court, then chairman of the national commissions of the scheduled castes, the scheduled tribes, the backward classes, and likewise, so this also may be asked in pre straight away, that all are the appointments done under by warrant under his hand and seal. Okay. The term of governor is according to the it is 5 years, but he holds his office to the pleasure of the president. He resigns by giving his resignation to the president. Even if his term is complete, let's say he has completed 5 years, but the new governor has not been appointed, he will continue to hold that office till the time a new governor is appointed. Tenure also. Then his qualifications, he has to be a citizen of India, 35 years of he should not be a member of either house of the parliament. ना तो वो MP होना चाहिए, ना MLA होना चाहिए. Not hold any other office of profit. This is again a very simple point, that जब भी कोई एक governor, whenever one person is appointed as a governor for two or more states, तो उनकी जो emoluments और allowances है, उनकी जो सैलरी है, वो दोनों स्टेट्स पे करती हैं. बट वो पे किस रेशो में करेंगी, वो प्रेसिडेंट साहब डिसाइड करते हैं. एक बार जो emoluments एंड गवर्नर के डिसाइड हो गए, then they are not diminished during the term of his tenure. This of course exclude the financial emergency. Okay, this is again both ways. उनको ओथ या तो चीफ जस्टिस दिलवाते हैं या सीनियर मोस्ट जज दिलवाते हैं, एंड इट इज अदर वे राउंड ऑल्सो. हाई कोर्ट के जजेस की ओथ गवर्नर साहब दिलवाते हैं. Now this is again important because if you see the schedules of the constitution, so you will find that in one of the schedules the oaths are mentioned, but then the oath of governor is not mentioned in that schedule. It is mentioned in article 159. Same is the case with president also. Their oaths are not mentioned in the schedule. You can again, for pre, it is important that they can anytime cite in the schedule so and so, which mentions the oaths. So does it contain the oath of the governor or the president? So answer is absolutely no. The oath of the governor and the president is mentioned in the Constitution article itself. Okay. Next, his oath is to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, service, and well-being of the nation. Again, comparisons can be asked. How the oath of various appointments are differing from each other. Okay. Then these are executive powers. Even this is also the power to grant pardon is also an executive power, not a judicial power. Council of Minister to aid and advise the governor. Okay. The difference here lies in the president as well as the governor is that the uh, here you can see the word discretion, right? The governor is supposed to work in his own discretion in certain matters. However, the president cannot. So there again can be framed. So that's why actually I have given you so many articles here. Article 200 is in news. You know. Next. Okay, challenges. What are the challenges associated? We should rush through. I think we are very late. What are the challenges associated with governor's office? Political neutrality. We all know कि governor जो है वो center point करता है and they serve in the states. और अगर दोनों में contrary parties in power हैं तो there is always friction. This is what experience says. It has happened earlier also. It is happening now also. Same issues doesn't come in the states which are ruled by the same party which is in power at the center. Removal or transfers, security of tenure. प्रेसिडेंट के प्लेजर पे काम करते हैं सो दे कैन बी रिमूव्ड बाय द president or transferred by the president at any time. Powers of the governor, there is a lot of discretion. If since discretion is given, it leads to the conflicts between the elected state governments. Undermining state legislatures, there have been instances. Abhi bills wala article 200, as I just said, article 200 is as to how what actions does the governor have have to take after a bill is passed by the state legislature. Now, however, even after it has been legitimately passed by the elected government, the bills have been kept pending for so long durations. That is also undermining the state legislature, although this matter is also sub judice. Immunity to the governors, now courts cannot intervene. Okay, so this is all important from mains. What are the challenges to the governor's office? Mains both UPSC as well as state PSCs. Now, what are the reform measures that can be taken? Appointment and removal process. People say that governor should not be appointed by the union government alone, but state भी और judiciary भी उनके appointment का part होना चाहिए. Accountability है, जैसे president को election and impeachment है, उनकी accountability है, वैसे ही गवर्नर की भी accountability होनी चाहिए जहां पर वो appointed हैं. Then elected governors is also, although Lakshmikant में पढ़ा होगा आपने कि why we haven't opted for an elected governor, but then if our experience says that the appointments which are being made are not conducive for the working of the democracy, then we can also try this thing also, elected governors. Impeachment, president जैसे president है, the only reason for which he can be impeached is violation of the constitution, although it is not mentioned. Same can be held for the governor also. Judicial intervention, I mean, again, courts, as I said, are barred from interfering, but then a more active judicial oversight mechanism may be involved जब conflicts होती है. Next, various commissions. I have consolidated all into one point, one heading. You can go through. These are the new points. These are just old points. You must have in center state relations, all these points in your book in center state relations, all these points are mentioned. So you can go through them also. And here they are listed in a single go. You will not be able to write so many points, so hardly 2 or 3 points if you remember, you can write. And at best, they will form a part of your conclusions. In the body, there must be some other questions which he asked. Okay, this is again Jammu Kashmir administration sacked 5 policemen. Now, these policemen have been sacked without any inquiry, right? So again, this article becomes important from this perspective that इसमें दो तीन चीजें हैं जो याद रखने वाली है। नंबर एक तो है कि आपको किसी सिविल सर्वेंट को अगर कोई किसी अपॉइंटिंग अथॉरिटी ने अपॉइंट किया है तो उसको रिमूव भी वही अपॉइंटिंग अथॉरिटी या उससे हायर अथॉरिटी कर सकती है, उससे लोअर अथॉरिटी नहीं रिमूव कर सकती। प्लस इंक्वायरी इज अ मस्ट। हाउएवर कुछ एक केसेस ऐसे हैं जहां पर वो इंक्वायरी individual the government can forego that inquiry, they can leave aside that inquiry. So security of state is one such matter, and in this case, in the Jammu Kashmir case, the charges was narco terrorism. There are few policemen and one teacher who have been dismissed, and the charges since were narco terrorism, though the basis is security of the state, and that's why no inquiry has happened and they have been dismissed. So again, this article is important. It can be uh, framed in the prelims. Monetary Policy Committee. This is tomorrow. They will be. They will start their meet, and perhaps on 8th of August itself, they will declare their resolution as to what will be the repo rate. So this is regarding monetary policy. Everything has been given here. Go through it once. Monetary policy है क्या? Monetary related to money. It tries to influence it. सिर्फ monetary policy से ही पूरा influence नहीं होता, but it still tries to influence the availability of money in the economy. बेसिस क्या है? बेसिस ये है कि इंडिया में बेसिस ये है कि आप आरबीआई एक्ट द मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी फ्रेमवर्क बोलता है कि हमने जो इन्फ्लेशन है उसको 4% रखना है, एंड टॉलरेंस लिमिट इज 2%, राइट? तो 2% to 6% is where they can play. Beyond that, it is a no go. Then they have to ensure certain measures so as to bring it as close to 4%. Important points are highlighted. Committee consists of 6 members. RBI governor is its ex officio member. Decisions by 6 members are taken by majority vote. बट अगर वो 3-3 हो गए तो इन दैट केस जो आरबीआई के गवर्नर साहब हैं, ही हैज अ कास्टिंग वोट, मतलब ही casts his vote second time. Then various instruments I have given it just for your revision. We have already discussed in our last chapter. Again, 2 or 3 questions as to just to see how these questions are framed. This is 2015 question. तो क्या क्या पार्ट है इसमें? मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी, मतलब what all of these items written above are the part of the monetary policy. Right. Okay. Policy stances. There are three policy stances which RBI can take. They declare that policy stance after their meeting. The three policy stances are accommodative, neutral and calibrated tightening. Accommodative का मतलब है कि आगे जाके रेट कट हो सकता है। रेट कट का मतलब है कि रेट्स जो हैं वो रेट कौन किस चीज का रेट? रेपो रेट। रेपो रेट कौन सा रेट? जिस रेट पे आरबीआई बैंक्स को पैसे उधारी में देगी। जब बैंक्स को सस्ता पैसा मिलेगा तो आगे भी सस्ता मिलेगा। तो दैट्स हाउ इट एक्सपेंड्स द मनी सप्लाई टू द इकोनॉमी। और इसकी कंडीशन है कि इमीडिएट इन्फ्लेशन का कंसर्न नहीं होना चाहिए। अगर इन्फ्लेशन ही ज्यादा है तो आरबीआई विल नॉट अडॉप्ट दिस स्टांस। न्यूट्रल मींस ग्रोथ एंड इन्फ्लेशन दोनों ही पॉलिसी प्रायोरिटी है। आरबीआई इज ट्राइंग टू स्ट्राइक सम बैलेंस, so it can either cut the rate or increase the rate. Calibrated tightening, again the rate cut is not imminent, रेट बढ़ सकते हैं, कम नहीं हो सकते। और ये तब होता है जब इन्फ्लेशन की सिचुएशन ज़्यादा है। इन्फ्लेशन मीन्स देर इज़ टू मच, मतलब it has to, there is too much money chasing too few goods, money has to come down. So since money has to come down, the rates of interests has to go up so that people take less loans. For the banks to give the loans on less, on higher interest, the RBI raises its interest rates. Okay, right. Indexation, I've just given you definition. We have covered it, just for refreshing. Okay. There are these are the news which you just need to know what is happening. You need not to go into the nitty-gritties. There are protests going in Bangladesh. बांग्लादेश 1971 में आज़ाद हुआ था। उस टाइम के बाद से वहाँ पर रिजर्वेशन पॉलिसी चल रही है कि जो उनके फ्रीडम फाइटर्स थे उनको रिजर्वेशन मिल रही है। अभी वो रिजर्वेशन पिछले कुछ, मतलब द गवर्नमेंट हैज स्टॉप्ड दैट रिजर्वेशन, बट द हाई कोर्ट हैज again reinstated it. Now, against that reinstation, because the reservation is going for next generations. To obviate that, the government has passed an executive order regarding stopping the reservation. However, that has not stopped the High Court to pass such judgments that they have reinstated it. Against that, the protests are going on in Bangladesh. That's it. Foreign portfolio investors, FPI. Now, we discussed that the other day also. They This is something again which is all the purpose of writing this here is, uh, you see it is in just 1 month, and the change is 32,000 crore rupees. So this is how they say that it is hot money or it is not a stable money. So FDI is more stable than FPI. एनीथिंग, अगर कोई फॉरेन से इन्वेस्टमेंट आती है, किसी भी फर्म में इन्वेस्ट होती है, अगर वो 10% से नीचे है तो उसको FPI काउंट करते हैं। अगर वो 10% से ऊपर है तो उसको FDI काउंट करते हैं। द बेसिक डेफिनेशन फॉर टुडे इज इनफ। The hot nature or the volatile nature, I have told you. The moment interest rates around the world shakes, so the money will either go out or come in. Here, the money has come in. In the near future also, it is not expected that US will raise the interest rates. So we are expecting more money to come in. That's all for this thing. Okay. Going after weeds. Again, there are, आज की डेट में हम अगर राइस लगाते हैं तो उसको पूरा पानी से भर के रखते हैं ताकि वीड्स ना हो। वीट लगाना है तो उसके उसमें उसको बार बार प्लो करना पड़ता है, so that again the weeds are not there. So there are new technologies which is direct seeding of rice and zero tillage wheat. These are coming up. uh, they might reduce the usage of the water. बस इससे ज्यादा कुछ है नहीं है। अगर इसमें नोमेनक्लेचर्स होंगे कुछ मे बी, बट देन आई डोंट फाइंड इट वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फ्रॉम द एग्जाम परस्पेक्टिव। just you need to know that okay, these are the new things which are coming up and can be added once in your syllabus GS3 technology to the aid of farmers. Okay, last one again, uh, we regarding the age. Now this graph over here, rather the bar chart over here, okay, it tells you that, okay, yeah, this bar chart over here, it tells you that how many number of MPs were under 35. Now we consistently see from 1952, sorry, yeah, from 1952 to 2024, the number is reducing down. So The age of the parliament is aging. We are young country with aged politicians. So इसमें ऊपर अगर कोई वो आएगा, आर्टिकल आएगा, तो वी विल डिस्कस इट, बट देन दिस इज अगेन, अगर इम्प्रूवमेंट का कोई पॉइंट कहीं पर लिखना है तो यू कैन राइट इट कि वी आर एजिंग एंड वी नीड टू हैव यंगर पॉलिटिशियंस. Then last, election petition. What is an election petition? Election petition, कोई भी इलेक्शन होती है तो उसके अगेंस्ट अगर किसी ने रिपोर्ट करनी है कि दे वांट टू डिक्लेयर दैट इलेक्शन वॉइड, तो आप इलेक्शन पिटीशन फाइल करते हो. लोकसभा इलेक्शंस हुई थी अभी, उसमें 92 इलेक्शन पिटीशंस आई हैं टू डिक्लेयर दैट इलेक्शंस वॉइड. 2019 में 138 आई थी. नाउ इलेक्शन पिटीशन मेंशन कहाँ है? अगेन, रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ पीपल्स एक्ट 1951, इट्स salient features are part of your syllabus. So in that case you should know about election petitions also. What are those election petitions? And the ROPA 1951, as I just mentioned, it contains that, uh, what exactly are they? I think section 80 है उसका, जहाँ से ये उसकी डेफिनेशंस वगैरह लिखी हुई हैं. However, जैसे आई मस्ट टेल यू दैट, जैसे कोई करप्ट प्रैक्टिस है, किसी ने वोट खरीदे, उसका कोई किसी के पास प्रूफ है, या किसी ने इलेक्शंस अपने एक्सपेंसेस गलत डिक्लेयर किए, राइट, या कोई क्वालिफाइड ही नहीं था बट वो इलेक्शन लड़ा और जीत गया, या कोई डिस्क्वालिफाइड हो रखा था फिर भी वो इलेक्शन लड़ा लड़ा जीत गया. तो ऑल दीज थिंग्स कैन बी द ग्राउंड्स ऑफ declaring the action void, which are mentioned in representation of people act. इलेक्शन पिटीशन फाइल कहाँ पे हो सकती है? इट कैन बी फाइल्ड इन हाई कोर्ट. कितने जजेस सुनते हैं? नॉर्मली एक ही जज सुनता है, बट हाँ, अगर चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ द हाई कोर्ट वांट्स, if the chief justice of the high court wants, then he can anytime, he is a master of the roster, he can anytime say that two or more judges will hear that petition. So that's all for today. uh, I hope this session has made certain improvement in your knowledge. So see you tomorrow. Thank you.